It was a quiet November afternoon in the suburbs of Boston. The leaves outside were turning bright shades of red and orange, covering the front yard of the Wilson family's White House in Newton. The soft lights from inside the house glowed warmly through the windows. Thanksgiving was just around the corner, and the neighborhood felt calm and peaceful. "Jenny, we need to talk," Mother said suddenly. She was speaking to my younger sister, Ashley, who was lying comfortably on the living room couch. Something about the moment felt strange. Ashley looked nervous. She was playing with her fancy Cartier bracelet without even realizing it. Her hair wasn't perfectly styled like usual, it looked messy, like she hadn't had time to fix it. "What's going on?" I asked carefully. Ashley looked down. Her voice was quiet, shaky. "It's about the wedding, and Michael. We don't have enough money." Her words hit me like a punch. My heart skipped a beat. The money, over $200,000, that I had saved since I was a teenager was gone. I had worked part-time during college, applied for every scholarship I could find, and saved every extra dollar. That money was for my wedding. Because I worked as an accountant and paid close attention to details, I had trusted my parents to manage it. There were some tax advantages, but mostly, I just believed they would protect it. Now, I wasn't so sure. My parents sat nearby. Dad, Robert, kept reading his newspaper like everything was normal, but I noticed his hands shaking a little. Mom, Patricia, who always dressed perfectly and was well known in Boston's social circles, looked tense despite her flawless makeup. She wore her usual pearls and twin sweater set, but her eyes were full of unease. Ashley looked up at me. "Jenny, can I borrow the money just for a little while?" she asked. Her voice trembled. Ashley claimed she had a job at Saks Fifth Avenue, but she barely worked. Still, she always had the newest Gucci bags and wore designer clothes like Prada. That hadn't changed since we were kids. She always liked to show off. I touched the pearl necklace around my neck. It was the only gift my parents had given me when I got a full scholarship to college. It wasn't flashy like Ashley's big birthday parties or the fancy graduation gifts she got, but it meant something to me. It reminded me of my hard work and independence. I took a deep breath and said, "Okay." Ashley's face lit up instantly. My parents looked relieved too, but inside, I felt uneasy. It was like something important was slipping away from me. I didn't understand it fully yet, but my chest felt tight. Michael, Ashley's fiancé, always looked perfect in his expensive Brooks Brothers suits. He wore a Patek Philippe watch and carried himself like a successful investment advisor. He impressed my parents when we all had dinner at Legal Seafoods, a fancy restaurant. They thought he was charming and smart. But later that night, when I was back in my quiet condo in Back Bay, I stared out at the Charles River and couldn't stop thinking. My job at Parker Associates was going really well. I was a senior accountant now, leading projects and building a strong career. But despite all of that, I felt anxious. Something didn't sit right. On a shelf in my living room was a family photo. My parents and Ashley were smiling big in the center, and I was barely visible off to the side. It had always been that way. The shocking discovery. Weeks later, it was a busy afternoon at the office on the 43rd floor. The end of the year was near, so everyone was rushing to finish their tasks. My coworker Sarah walked up and dropped a pile of documents on my desk. "Hey Jennifer, can you take a look at these contracts?" "Sure," I said, though I still felt that strange weight in my chest. Sarah sat beside me, scrolling through Instagram while we worked. The office buzzed with small talk and laughter. Everyone was taking a short break before diving back in. Then Sarah suddenly gasped. "Oh my God, this is the most beautiful wedding I've ever seen." Curious, I glanced at her phone, and my heart stopped. Photos from a stunning wedding at the Four Seasons Boston were all over the screen. A white Vera Wang gown, golden decorations, 300 guests, custom cake glowing with candlelight. Every detail was perfect. It was exactly how I had dreamed my wedding would be. And the bride was Ashley, my sister. There she was, smiling with our parents, dancing under twinkling lights. The wedding had taken place 2 weeks ago, while I had been away in Chicago for a business trip. No one had told me, not even a text. The confrontation. I rushed into a private conference room and shut the door behind me. My hands trembled as I pulled out my phone. I dialed Mother's number. As it rang, I noticed my brand new phone case. Was that paid for with my own wedding fund, too? She answered on the third ring. "Hello?" Her voice sounded calm and fake. "What is the meaning of this?" I asked coldly. "Oh, so you found out," She said like it was no big deal. Well, you're not getting married anyway, so we figured we might as well use the money. In the background, I heard my father laughing, relaxed, careless laughter. In that moment, 20 years of love, trust, and hope shattered, just like that. Letting go. Outside, the Charles River continued to flow calmly, but something inside me had changed forever. I couldn't stop the tears, not because I was sad, but because I was furious. Furious at myself for trusting them, for believing I was part of their love, for being blind. Sarah came in and saw my face. "Jennifer, are you okay?" I touched the pearl necklace again. "Yes," I said softly. "Actually, I've never been more clear." That night, I returned to my condo and quietly slipped the spare key to my parents' house into an envelope. From the window, I could see the Boston Public Garden painted in fall colors. The news said the first snow would arrive soon, but I felt numb. I picked up old family photos and even that necklace. They all seemed fake now, like props from a story that never really included me. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Missed calls, voicemails, first demanding answers, then begging, then crying. I didn't listen to any of them. I deleted them all. I changed my phone number. I blocked them on every social media account, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It took me less than half an hour to do it. And just like that, I walked away from a lifetime of betrayal. I had already begun packing for my move. The new apartment was in a tall building near Charles River Park. The rent was higher than where I lived before, but I didn't mind. This move was the first real step towards starting over and building a new life. Then, I received an email from Aunt Mary, my mother's sister. "The police are investigating Michael," it said. I froze. My eyes were glued to the screen. "He's a known marriage scammer," the message continued. "He has 3 past convictions. He targets women who work at luxury stores and takes money from their families. He's done this in New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles." My hands shook. I kept scrolling. The more I read, the worse it got. The total money he had stolen was over $1 million. He had taken my $200,000 wedding fund, but that wasn't all. He also took $250,000 from my parents' retirement savings. On top of that, he left behind $300,000 in unpaid wedding bills. Just the Four Seasons Hotel cost $150,000. There were at least 5 other women he had tricked, all in similar ways, young women working in upscale stores, just like my sister Ashley. I sank into my chair, stunned. Even my dad's retirement money was gone. It was painful to know I had lost my wedding fund, but what hurt more was the scale of the betrayal. A scam had been unfolding right under our noses. What had my parents been thinking? The next morning, on my way to work, my phone rang. It was Sarah, calling as I rode the subway. "Jennifer, did you see today's newspaper? It's all over the news." The front page of the Boston Globe's Society section showed a large photo of Michael being arrested. The headline read, "Marriage Con Artist Targets Wealthy Families." The article explained that he posed as an investment expert, tricked young women into trusting him, and stole money from their families. It was shocking. Many of his victims were in their late 20s or early 30s, working in high-end retail. Everything matched what had happened to us. Oddly, reading it helped me feel calmer. Maybe my accountant brain kicked in. Even as the train swayed, I was mentally calculating the losses. Aunt Mary sent more updates. My parents had gotten a foreclosure notice on their home. The retirement savings were gone. Their reputation in the neighborhood was ruined. Whispers had already started. "Isn't she Robert and Patricia's daughter, from that scam?" I heard they even used her sister's wedding money. Their obsession with appearances had led to disaster. Mary said they had shut out the rest of the family. No one was invited to Thanksgiving this year. Michael had vanished just 2 days after the grand wedding. Ashley had returned to our parents' home, locked herself in her room, and slipped into depression. She had started going to a rehab center. She also began treatment for her social media addiction. Her once busy Instagram account was deleted overnight. Meanwhile, I kept getting letters from home, almost every day. Apologies, please, regret. I didn't open a single one. They all stayed at the bottom of a cardboard box, untouched. Only Aunt Mary and Sarah had my new phone number. At work, I acted like nothing had changed. In fact, I worked better than ever, without family drama clouding my mind. I could think clearly. Maybe that was the silver lining of cutting ties with them. One day, My boss Claire looked over my latest proposal and smiled. "Jennifer, this is excellent," she said warmly. Her trust meant more to me than I could explain. I signed the lease for my new apartment, bright, with a great view of the Charles River. It cost more, but it felt right, a new chapter. On moving day, I saw the pile of unopened letters again. My parents and Ashley had written them. I didn't read a single word. I dropped them straight into the trash. From my new living room window, I looked out over the Charles River. The sunlight danced on the water. It was winter now, and the air was crisp. I took a deep breath. This time, I was really starting over, on my terms. I wasn't going to look back. I held that thought close, like a promise. 1 year later, sunlight poured into my office window overlooking Charles River Park. A shiny sign on the wall read, "Wilson Financial Consulting." 6 months earlier, I had left Parker Associates and started my own accounting firm. Business was growing. I had already hired 3 staff members. "Jennifer, it's lunchtime," Sarah called. She was not only my best friend but also my co-manager. I couldn't have come this far without her. We headed to a small bistro on Newbury Street and sat on the terrace. Trees nearby were just starting to bloom. Spring had come. "Oh, by the way," Sarah said gently, "did you hear? Michael Collins got 10 years in prison." I nodded quietly. He was found guilty in Florida and again in Massachusetts. The final total in damages, $2.5 million. Sarah looked at me kindly. "How are your parents doing?" According to Mary, my parents had lost their house and moved into a small apartment in Cape Cod. With Dad's retirement fund gone, they now lived on pension. Mom, once the queen of Boston's social events, worked part-time as a cashier at a grocery store. Ashley was still in treatment. Her depression and addiction were slowly improving, but she had a long road ahead. "She wants to see you," Sarah said. I already knew. Aunt Mary had passed along the same message. But I had no plans to meet them. I didn't want the past to creep into the peaceful life I had now. "You seem happy," Sarah said, smiling. "I am. Just last month, I had started dating someone new, David, a kind and thoughtful neurosurgeon Aunt Mary introduced me to. He treated me with respect and never judged me for the scars I carried. We're going to Cape Cod next weekend," I told Sarah. "That's amazing," she smiled. A weekend at a seaside villa. It felt like a dream, one I had built myself. No borrowed money, no fake promises, just me and a life I had chosen. On our way back to the office, I passed a jewelry store and noticed a new Tiffany necklace. It looked like pearls but was made from tiny diamonds. "That suits you," the store clerk said warmly. I smiled. I had already thrown away my old pearl necklace. This new sparkle felt right. It was a symbol of who I was now. Back at my desk, an email waited for me, a request for an audit from a major investment firm. My reputation as a trusted accountant was growing. People saw me as capable, reliable, strong. Outside, the Charles River sparkled under the spring sun. I hadn't looked back once since that awful day, not because I was stubborn, but because looking forward had shown me a better world. Aunt Mary once told me, "You've grown into a true adult." And I finally understood what she meant. Family isn't just about blood, it's about trust, honesty, and love. I had found that in my friendships, in my work, and in myself. In the back of my drawer, I still kept the last letter from my parents. Unopened, and it would stay that way. Because my story was still being written, on my own terms. And as the sun set outside my office, casting golden light on the Wilson Financial Consulting sign, I knew one thing for sure. This new life was mine, and I wasn't going back.